Let's talk about contract definiteness. A lot of contracts fail because they're too vague. The terms, the key part of the contract, is not definite enough. So we really have this for two reasons. We want the parties to know exactly what they have to do to make the contract work. If I'm purchasing something, I want to know what I have to do to come and make that purchase. If I'm selling something, I need to know exactly how you come to make that purchase, right? So we need to make sure both parties know exactly what they are supposed to do to fulfill the contract. Second, it comes down to the court as the one who has to resolve the contract and fix it in a lawsuit. And so if there are terms that are missing, or, which is often the case, where there was a detail that was left out, or if the parties didn't come to an agreement and one did the wrong thing and the court needs to come in and tell them what to do, the court needs the contract to be definite enough that they don't have to guess. The court doesn't want to guess. They don't want to say, here's what we think is reasonable. The court needs to know exactly, be able to determine exactly what you agreed upon in order to fix the contract so that it can be performed. And in order for that to happen, it must be definite enough. So we're going to look at two cases with two different outcomes on the issue of definiteness. Let's look first at Meram versus MacDonald. This is a really interesting case. You're going to love the facts. The short part of it is, and you got to read them because it's such an interesting case, but the short part is there's this guy who's a kind of a motivational speaker, and he has an event, and he says that he's going to give away $1 million to someone. And someone is going to walk out of there that day if they leave their business card. At the end of his talk, he draws a business card, and I'm sure the guy who got his name pulled is very excited. And then the man who's speaking says, I am giving you $1 every day for the next 1,000,000 years, and here's a $100 check to get you the first 100. And so it's a very tricky thing that he did to try to get people to come to this talk, saying that you're going to give away $1 million when you really don't. And so the man who put his business card in and thought he won the $1 million is naturally upset because, hey, he came to this, he took time out of his day to come hear the speaker, he thought he won $1 million and he didn't, and so he sues. And so the court looks at this and they say, was this definite enough? Was it too vague? Was it clear on what this man, the speaker, was offering? Or was it merely puffery? Was this just the speaker, trying to get people out and saying, this is the best thing ever? Well, again, he said in the contract, someone who comes today will walk out with $1 million. All you have to do is come to my talk, put your business card in. It seems pretty clear. It tells you what you have to do as the audience members. You have to come to it. You have to spend that hour or 2 hours where he's pitching essentially his book, giving his talk, and you have to drop your business card in the bucket, wait for it to be called, and if your name is called, you walk out with $1 million. Now, this isn't an example of what might be too vague would be if he said, if you come to my speaking event, you are going to have the tools to make yourself a millionaire. Well, not everyone becomes a millionaire in the next year. That's just puffery, right? You have to do work. There's some luck to that. But in this case, it is very definite. You show up, you put your business card in, someone's going to win $1 million if you're drawn. And so the court found that in this case, the contract, what you were supposed to do, the offer was definite, the acceptance mode was definite, and there was a contract. Bad news for the public speaker. I'm not sure how they resolved it specifically. Maybe they came to a settlement, but probably there's $1 million liability here or something significant. Okay, let's look at another case on definiteness, Armstrong versus Rohm and Haas. This is an interesting case because there's an acquisition that's happened from a business, and the acquiring company decided to close down the old location. It's some metal working, and so they're grinding metal and probably doing some machining, and so they've acquired this company, and they decide to close one of the branches, and so they give everyone a severance package, and they tell a couple of the people who work there that, hey, if you want to go and start your own business, we will give you all the work you can handle. and they say, we would like to give you all of our outsourced work. And so they ended up getting very little outsourced work a year. It ended up just being a little teeny bit that was filtered to them, and so they sued, and they said, hey, we expected a lot more work. You didn't give it to us. Where's that business? And so we had a contract here that we took the severance. We decided to go out on our own, and you helped to get us started, and you offered us work, and now we've got nothing. And so the court takes a look at it, and they say that this is just too vague. That they want to tell, they feel like these two men who started their own company deserve something, but they can't determine how much it is, right? All the work you can handle. What does that mean? Now, does it mean you give them every piece of work you have if you're the other company? Well, probably not, because presumably they have more work than these guys could ever handle. Is it the amount, the actual amount that they could do? Well, maybe. Or is it more than that? Or is it less? They just didn't give clear, precise amount. And so the court doesn't want to guess. They don't want to try to fill this in and say, well, the main company now that has acquired the old company, you need to give all this work, a certain amount of work over. The court doesn't want to pick that number, right? Because they feel like that's not their job to do. Their job is to help enforce the contract, not try to create and try to come up with the terms. And so, since they couldn't find a clear term as to how much work should have been done, they decide not to go through with this. They decide not to fix anything and say, look, it was just too vague, and sorry guys, we want to help you out, but there just wasn't enough to go on here. So what's the moral of the story? When you're writing contracts, make sure you have a very clear, precise determination of what the key terms are. You want to do this so you know exactly what each party is agreeing to and how they have to perform to fulfill the contract. And you want to make sure that courts are able to fix the contract and a problem, and that they have something to look at to know exactly how much or exactly what is supposed to be done.